So if Steve Jobs was alive, what's the most product that he would be excited for in the past 5 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I ask myself that all the time. Yeah, it's a big deal too, because again, that one goes back to again, Steve days where, and I used to play a much bigger role in that. And we were never, and that team has never asked for the business model. Wow. They're never asked for, well, how's that going to improve sales? No, it was always the thought that we do this because it's the right thing to do.
السلام عليكم، مساكم الله بالخير ويا هلا وسهلا فيكم. كيف لو انكم شغالين في شركه زي ابل لاكثر من 30 سنه وتعرفوا الاشياء الكثيره اللي مرت عليها من تاريخ الاجهزه، من الاشياء العجيبه اللي مرت في هذه الشركه. فرصه جدا جميله معي اليوم، وبالتاكيد بتتعرفوا على ضيفي وبتعرفوا ايضا الاسئله الجميله اللي مخبينها لكم. وبسم الله. First of all, Jaws. Is it okay to call Jaws?
Please. That's what everybody calls me. Not my wife, but everybody else. Yes.
Good to know that as a beginning. So I won't take that as any question and answer. Welcome to Saudi Arabia. It's good to see you.
What a pleasure to be here.
Good 2 days?
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
I've fallen in love with your country. It's amazing.
I'm absolutely happy to hear that. Yeah. Now let's go straight forward to the questions. And the first question will be, how important is Saudi Arabia for Apple? If we're talking about not only from a consumer perspective, but as well from a software development perspective with the Apple Academy and all the corporations going on.
It's incredibly important to us. One of the things that I've seen in my small time here is this transformation that's going on in the country, and this incredible change in, Apple, we're founded on the idea of change. You may be too young to remember when Steve had first come back to Apple, ran a campaign, the Genius campaign, which was all about why Apple needed to exist in the world. And it was to challenge the status quo, right? It was to enable change. And so we're always excited when we see change like you see here, and knowing that we're playing a role in it. The Developer Academy here, which has been educating women on coding, is absolutely amazing. And I've had the pleasure this morning of spending time here and talking to both current students and past students about their experience. And it absolutely is fantastic. It warms your heart to hear their stories. And they're coming out quite successful, in getting jobs and getting good jobs based on what they're learning in the academy. And so, yeah, it's nice to play a role in that.
Brilliant. Now, if we're talking about Apple Intelligence, it's being adopted as we speak by a lot of people, by millions of people around the world. What's your vision towards the future of Apple Intelligence?
Yeah, a great question. Generative intelligence has, been one of the most disruptive technologies I think I've seen in our industry since the iPhone and the App Store. It's absolutely amazing. What we wanted to do is to humanize it, to make it accessible. So with Apple Intelligence, one of the things we've done, of course, is to integrate it seamlessly into the system and make it something that everybody can use. We like to say AI for the rest of us. And we're just at the very beginning of this story, right? We're just starting to roll features out. We're going to bring out more and more features over time, more and more countries over time. It is just going to be such a tremendous tool in helping us get things done better, more easily, in an Apple sort of way. We're very excited about it, and it's going to be the kind of thing that you're going to see us working on and focusing on for many years to come.
Brilliant. And now, as your position in Apple, you're the Senior Vice President Worldwide Marketing. What defines a user from a consumer?
That's a great question.
That question. What defines both of them?
Yeah.
And from your perspective as well, which is a healthier practice?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, to me, they're very important distinction between the words. I've always loved the word user for our technologies. One, it's somewhat neutral. It doesn't distinguish whether you're a novice, whether you're an expert. And it's different than customer because user doesn't suggest transaction, right? It doesn't suggest just a commercial relationship. Our relationship with our users is deeper than that, right? It is something that you've heard Tim Cook say, we put the user at the center of everything we do.
Absolutely.
Not the customer.
Yes.
Right. That's different. It's the user. It's once you've got our product, that relationship you have with our products is incredibly important to us. we work very hard to make that experience better than what anybody else could do. I'm always proud of telling people that, we have the highest customer satisfaction in any of our major product categories. But what's really exciting is the customer satisfaction goes up even more if you own multiple Apple products, because we engineer them to work so hard together for our users. Now, customers, again, are prospective users, right? They're people who are considering buying our products for the first time. At that point, they're a customer, right? Because they aren't yet our user, right? And they're maybe about to enter in a commercial interest. They say, I'm going to buy your product. And then once they do, we welcome them in to be one of our users. And again, we'll put them at the center of what we do. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It's kind of a hierarchy as well, a place that you reach from being a customer to a user.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what is healthier to stay at the status for a long time?
Well, I think it's very healthy to be one of our users, certainly. Like I said, it's a very happy place to be. The satisfaction is very high. We sweat every detail at Apple for our users. There are so many things that are part of being a user of Apple products that you don't see us market. We can only market so many things. Yet when you become a user of one of our products, you start to sometimes maybe even subconsciously, see some of the things or experience some of the things that we had countless people back in California that are sweating to make sure that experience is as good as it can be, for our users. So we think that's a very healthy place to be. And one of the things I'm always proud of too is, people love their Apple products.
Yes.
For our competitors, they use them. I'm not sure anybody quite has that expression of love that our users have for our products, and we work very hard to get that love.
Yes, that's an amazing answer. Now, if we talk about over the last 30 years of Apple technology, what's the biggest revolution in Apple products from your personal perspective?
Wow, that's another good question. Well, first of all, how lucky are we in that we have driven so many revolutionary products? I mean, most companies never experience any. Some experience one.
True.
When you look at our history, and as you know, I'm old enough that I've been around for most of them. All right,
You're lucky for 38 years.
38 years.
Those revolutionary products.
38 years, yeah. So I just missed the introduction of the Mac, but the Mac was a new product. But the Mac changed personal computing, right? It was a different interface. It was command line before. Can you imagine people today using command line?
Oh, no.
No, right? It was changed the way you interact with the personal computer, and it changed personal computing. And of course, even the iPod, if you remember the iPod, which changed the way we listen to music, it changed the music industry. And quite honestly, it's what led us to the iPhone. And if you remember the three original pillars of the iPhone, and I don't think there's ever been a product like the iPhone and the App Store to really change all of our daily lives, to change the world, and that was always Steve's mission, right, is to change the world for the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it didn't end there. I mean, we're part of, iPads, which changed tablets. Tablets were a nascent, non-existent category, and we changed that. And even today, I even hate to use the word tablet. There's iPads and there's
It's an iPad.
Other stuff.
In some cultures, they call it an iPad. They don't know that there's a tablet.
Yeah, and even the watch and what it can do for you for health and fitness, as well as extending your iPhone experience. Vision Pro, allowed people to experience this new world of spatial computing. And now, as you just talked about earlier, we're on the cusp of a new era of Apple intelligence that, again, we think are going to allow our iPhone, our iPad, our Macs, and eventually more products to do things that just blow our minds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So which one's best? I don't know. I guess it's hard to imagine anything being bigger than the iPhone and the App Store. Yeah, as a revolution.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Steve. So if Steve Jobs was alive, what's the most product that he would be excited for in the past 5 years? From your opinion?
Yeah, it's a great question. I ask myself that all the time. I always ask, well, what would Steve think, if he could come back and see? I think, first of all, he was so excited about the iPhone. Obviously left us too early, left us right before the introduction of the iPhone 4S. I think he'd be blown away to see the impact that the iPhone has had on the world, because it was on the way to that, but I think nowhere near, obviously, where it is today. So I can't help but think that would be something that would impress even him. But I also think he'd be very excited about the potential of intelligence and Apple Intelligence. And he had such an incredible mind for thinking to the future and thinking so many steps ahead of everybody else. And I know how excited we are, those of us who work on products back at Apple in California, about the incredible potential we have with Apple Intelligence, and to do things, again, humanizing them, doing things that make it an incredible tool for our users. And I think he'd be very excited about what he thinks, what he probably could bring to that as well.
Brilliant. So I'll take the answer as beside the iPhone, it's going to be Apple Intelligence.
I think so. Right. And the nice thing is those two things come together.
Oh, yes, definitely. Now, I'm going to give you some products. And the following products, I want you to just tell me from those products, which of the designs you like more.
Uh-oh.
So if we talk about the iMac G3.
Wow.
The Power Mac G4.
Wow.
And the Power Mac G4
the
Cube.
The Cube,
okay. And the iBook G3.
Wow. All iconic designs. All iconic designs. The iBook was the first consumer laptop. That was groundbreaking. The Cube, as you know, was kind of a little bit of an incredible design, but a product that was a little bit of a swing and a miss. I would say I have to choose the iMac, because the iMac was, again, part of revitalizing the company. It was reminding people why computing can be easy, that you could have this all-in-one computer that you just had to plug in, and it had everything you needed, and you didn't have to worry about setting it up, and you could move it around.
True.
And it's an idea and a product that still persists today. Right? We just, we have brought up many generations, of the iMac, and it is still incredibly easy to use and popular. And obviously the design has changed many times over the years. But, there was something also very beautiful about that translucent shell and the Bondi blue of the original, and then the colors that came out subsequently. So I guess I would go with the iMac.
Brilliant. Because I got two of the blues at the office. So,
do you really?
Yeah, so that's why it's a good
choice, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I like when you said that the Cube is a hit and miss. Because if I go to the next question, it would be, with all your time at Apple, does time play a role in releasing tech that can make it, or tech that, you develop at Apple, technologies that develop for you, to justify, is it the right time to release this technology or not? Yeah,
no, time plays an incredible role. Probably tough to use a hockey analogy here in Saudi Arabia,
no, please.
But it was one that Steve used that really said it all, which was hockey is an American, I guess Canadian sport.
We follow.
Be careful. Yeah, okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest hockey players that lived was Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky was not the biggest guy. He wasn't the fastest guy, but yet he was the greatest. And when they asked him why could he explain, how could he explain that if he didn't have the attributes to be so great, yet he was so great? What was that? And he said, because he skates to where the puck is going to be. And Steve loved that quote, because that's what we try to do, right? We try to understand the game around you, understand where technology is headed, where users are headed, because remember, you're building this thing for, back to our term, users, right? You're back to what people want to do when they're ready to do it. You're designing these technologies and making these technology choices sometimes years before they're going to come to market. So the only way you can do that is to know where things are headed, right? Where technology is headed, where the user's headed, because you got to time those things together. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can be ahead of the market, or sometimes you're behind. Where we're doing our best to say that we time those things together to bring a technology out when the market was ready in a way that, really was valued by our customers and users, both of them.
Great answer. Now, if you can spend a full day with one beautiful product on your disk, and just keep in your mind, design-wise, okay? So keep in your mind, this product cannot be powered on.
Oh, cannot be?
Cannot be.
Wow.
What would that product be?
Well, I'm going to go back to an iMac, but I'm going to say a different one.
Okay, please.
I'm going to say, I don't know if you remember it, the iMac G4.
Yes.
It had the articulating arm. We were so proud of that design. Yeah, it had
With half a shell.
it had the semi-hemispherical base.
Yeah.
It had the arm. The amount of engineering that went into that arm, because again, it had to support the screen. It was the flat screen. It had to support it in a way that allowed it to stay stable, yet move. We would go out and talk about that product. We'd show some of the mechanical parts of what it took to do that. And it was just absolutely beautiful on or off. But at the same time, we looked at all of our products, at how do we make them beautiful? There are products that are part of your life. And whether they're like an iPhone that's going with you everywhere you go, or an iMac that's sitting at your desk or your business, or a MacBook Air that's going with you places, how they look is important. That's and I think that's part of the love that people have for our products, right? Is they feel good to them, right? They pull it out, it may make them smile, it might light them up, even before they use it. That there's an Apple design quality. So I'd like to hope that any of our products could serve that purpose, but I certainly don't like the idea they couldn't start up.
Absolutely. Good thing that was applied by me.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to you personally, do you have any hobbies?
Not as many as I should. I do like to travel for both work, as I'm here, as well as personally. I think traveling is probably, I'd say, my favorite hobby. I love to see different parts of the world. I love to experience different cultures. It's the world is big and fast and varied and beautiful.
Does traveling have an influence about what you do in Apple?
Oh, absolutely. One, it's the reminder that we do live in a very diversified world.
Nice.
And we're not building products just for people like me in California. We're building products for people around the world. And so it's always important for me in my job to make sure that I'm going to different markets, experiencing them, feeling, what our customers are feeling, when they're purchasing it, feeling what our users are feeling when they're using it, understanding from the local teams, what's important, what's resonating, and one of the things that I love is our users do love our products around the world. It's like no matter where I go. And there's also, and it's especially germane to here we are in Saudi Arabia, we have such an incredible connection with younger customers. What some people call Gen Z or next gen customers. It's and users. There's a love there. There's an affinity that we share some values. Right? We're a very values-driven company, and there's the feeling we've always had to want to leave the world better than we found it, and that generation loves that. There's an authenticity that generation expects, and we don't ever try to pretend to be something we're not. Again, Steve used to always tell us, we just got to be who we are, right? We have to try to create great products, say why they're great, but we can't pretend to be something we're not. There's nothing less cool than pretending you're cool. So we try to just come out and we are who we are. And hopefully people like that, and it seems to connect well with that generation. There's also an incredible creativity in that generation. And I think in a lot of ways we've played a part in that because the pervasiveness of our products helps expose creativity in people who in prior generations may not have had the opportunity to have their creativity exposed. But because so many people have iPhones and iPads and Macs and can expose this creativity, whether it's, they're creators with graphic design or videos at YouTube, TikTok, musicians and the things that they can do with our products to create incredible music and videos. There's just this affinity that goes between this creative element, of that generation with our products, which are, creativity is at our DNA. It's like to say it's in our DNA. We are a creative company that creates, incredible opportunities for creative people to make themselves more creative. And so that gets me very excited. And yet every time I travel to a different country, I see that in the youth. I see that connection between our products and them. And to me, that's super exciting because these customers, these users are going to be around for a long time. And if they're liking our products, that certainly is a good thing.
Absolutely. And there's credit to be given to Apple. Apple is the most enabled platform or ecosystem for accessibility.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that about it.
Yeah, it's a big deal too, because again, that one goes back to again, Steve days where, and I used to play a much bigger role in that, and we were never, and that team has never asked for the business model. Wow. They're never asked for, well, how's that going to improve sales? No, it was always the thought that we do this because it's the right thing to do. And we want all of our products to be accessible to as many of our as much as the world as possible. If I can, I'll just tell you a story. It's like, when people sometimes ask me what's my favorite days at Apple, and I have a couple, one of them being the introduction of the first iPhone, but another one is I was fortunate enough to be asked to go to accept an award once for Apple from the National Federation of the Blind. And it was, relatively early days for the iPhone. And you have to remember in that community, they were very worried when we introduced the iPhone, because how would a blind person possibly use a slick piece of glass that had no tactile buttons? And we worked very hard as a company to create incredible technologies that out of the box could allow a blind person to use it, not just a little, to use it as much as a sighted person could do it. And the appreciation of that market, which had oftentimes been faced with inferior tech solutions that didn't work very well, they got charged a lot of money.
Yes.
And we were offering them a solution that worked incredibly well out of the box.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, as I was getting introduced to accept the award, the whole, it was at a convention, was literally chanting Apple, Apple.
Oh,
and to me, it's like, it doesn't get better than that. It's like to realize this journey we're on to make the world a better place and to provide our products to as many people as possible. Here they were, this incredible recognition of what we had done, and to a market that was very skeptical to start with. Just hard to imagine. I still get goosebumps.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. Mm. So you've been with Apple for 38 years.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated?
I got asked this question just today, actually. It's funny. Look, I feel incredibly blessed to work at a company that has a positive impact on so many people around the world. Think about, we have well over 1 billion customers, 1 billion, and we make products that make people happy. So not only is that inspiring, there's a responsibility that goes with that for myself and everybody who works on products to realize, again, what an important role we play in. Sometimes it's in people's jobs, they use our products for their livelihood, or just for the joy of using them. And either way, we feel a responsibility, and an inspiration, that we are impacting so much of the world. How do you not get inspired by that? And yeah, I feel very, very lucky to do what I do. And it gets me, and trust me, I have no problem waking up in the morning and coming in and wanting to work on this sort of stuff. It's incredible. It's incredible. And we're always trying to, to move to the next thing, to try to make it better. This never satisfied that what we've done is good enough. Always feeling like, how are we going to make it better? And there's an inspiration that goes with that as well.
Brilliant. Now, how do you stay updated with technology? There's always developments happening. What's your source of information?
Well, I just said it's. I have no problem getting up and coming to work, and I do it very early.
Okay. So
I'm at work between 5:30 and 6 in the morning, and part of that is for just the reason you just said. Before meetings start and all that, I am trying to catch up with as much that is going on in my industry, trying to understand what's going on, trying to understand, oftentimes reading our customer research, because as I said earlier, with skating to where the puck's going to be, you got to understand trends. You got to understand not just where customers think now, but how does that relate to where they were before? How do you recognize the trends? How do you, again, see what's going on in our industry? How do I keep up with, obviously, a lot of communication we have about these things? So, I tend to start my day very early to do just that, so that when I hit the ground running with the meetings that are now deciding about what products we're going to do or what features, I'm educated in that to do that. And last night somebody asked me what books I read. I said, I don't have time for books. I'm reading all this, right? Wow. I read a lot, but I'm reading about my industry and my users, and that's pretty consuming.
Brilliant. After a very hard day of work and you go home, or you're at gatherings, do you have a no tick rule?
No tech rule? No, quite the opposite.
Wow. Those are the kind of gatherings I want to be.
Well, it's funny because, I love the fact that we make products that integrate into people's lives. I love the fact that if I have, it's nice we have a party at our house and I've got the pictures going off of the Apple TV onto the television, and even at with my kids, I had a rule that always said no question should go unanswered, because we have the answers to just about all the world's questions in our pocket, right? So if there was a question, it's like, rather than saying, well, I don't know, it's a good question, we would find the answer, right? Let's find the answer, and remember that these are tools in our life, and so it's the opposite, I guess, of that.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
Consumers' behaviors are changing, definitely changing. A heavy focus on software, of course, and services. Software and services released today will work on, let's say, an 8-year-old iPhone or old device, let's say, with no issue. How is such behavior perceived from a marketing perspective?
Yeah, it's funny, because you would think that maybe a marketer or somebody who's responsible for business would say, let's try to make things not last very long so that somebody has to buy a new one. But again, Steve told us, look, we're going to create a relationship with these users, that relationship's going to last a long time if they're happy with us. And so we've tried to always treat our user right. And one of the things that I get very proud of is that Apple products hold their value way more than our competitors' products. So even though oftentimes they cost more up front, the reality is there's more value to them when you're ready to get a new product. And that's why trade-ins have become a huge part of the balance, because we do so well retaining value. And we retain that value because, one, we engineer the products to last from a reliability and durability standpoint. I think a lot of people don't even realize you don't see broken cover glass on the iPhone because it's not glass. It's ceramic, glass ceramic. It's a ceramic, actually. It's called ceramic, and we call it ceramic shield. But we also engineer our products to be able to be software updated, right? And we do software updates for as many years as we can. Now, sometimes you can't go 8 years. Sometimes there's improvements in something that we're doing in our chipsets, or some features that might require higher performance, and so we don't make the decisions arbitrarily, but sometimes we can't. Sometimes our system capabilities, Apple Intelligence, for example, doesn't go back as far as some people might like on iPhone. It does on Mac, because we brought out Apple Silicon for Mac a number of years ago that had the capability to do that. But something, for example, on iPhones, you needed more system requirements than we had going further back than the iPhone 15 Pro. So we do our best to do that. We can't always accomplish it, but I think our record shows that we're better than anybody in the industry as far as doing that. And we also tend to have incredibly high upgrade rates for our software, because we make it so easy to update the software, and we make it available to such a vast number of our products that we end up with this incredibly homogeneous user base that upgrades, which is great for developers. Right, because then they can take advantage of new capabilities that we've given them in a new operating system, knowing that, unlike what will happen on other platforms, we're going to have a mass movement to the new operating system, which is great for everybody.
It's an amazing answer. I like that, and it shows part of care that you put into as well users. Now, when it comes to the Apple Ultra 2, the watch with the health features, with the Series 10, a lot of great health features were introduced there. Can I ask are we expecting Apple to overtake the medical devices and give them a good push of development?
Well, we don't look at it that way, right?
Okay.
We look at it more like, look, we've got this incredible product that sits on your wrist that gives it access because it's touching you, right, to some of your vitals, including your heart rate, and and we can take that information and use it to do a number of things for you. And we have saved, by the way, because of that, countless lives. And you've heard us talk about it a little bit. I don't think there's a day that goes by where Tim Cook doesn't get an email from somebody that said that the Apple Watch saved their life or saved their parents' life. And sometimes it's because they didn't realize they had atrial fibrillation, or they didn't realize that their heart rate was racing. And they contact their doctor and they said, my Apple Watch has told me this. And they said, okay, if your Apple Watch has told you that, it's real. Right? And so we've tried to build more and more of those capabilities. We have sleep apnea, as you know, that we recently released, that detection, where you can wear this to bed at night, and then the accelerometer can actually understand how you're breathing, right? And it can tell you, how many breathing disturbances are you having at night? Because there are over 1 billion people in the world have sleep apnea, most of which don't know that they do. And so this can monitor the breathing disturbances. It lets you see the next day that I have elevated number of breathing disturbances. Over a 30-day period, the watch will analyze that 30 days and come back and tell you if you have moderate or severe sleep apnea, which then allows you to contact, of course, a healthcare provider and decide what should you do about that. So we're constantly looking at how do we improve, use this to improve health. Crash detection, fall detection, knowing that you fall down, or again, maybe you buy it for your parent and they fell down, and have this automatically contact you as the contact, emergency services. It's incredible. And again, the amount of lives that we saved is impressive. And again, in our journey to make the world a better place, leave it better than we found it, this device is certainly helping us do that.
Brilliant. Now, over the past 5 years, when it comes to the focus from Apple on certain products, the ecosystem, let's say. When it came to actually iPhones, now they're actual tool of creating content, capturing content. When it goes to MacBooks and iPads, they are the power machines that can edit that content. When it comes to as well some of the features that we got, even lately with the Series 16, it's to do with audio and replaced microphones, and we just added to the ecosystem of content creation capabilities. Now, with AI-generated content emerging, and content creators are able to create content with AI without all those tools, all the ecosystem. Now, what's your perspective regarding that, about people creating content utilizing AI instead of using machines?
Yeah, I look at AI a little differently. I look at it as a tool for creatives, or a tool to make people more productive. It's how to help you do what you do better. I'm sure, by the way, it's funny because I was talking to somebody who's kind of studied the fact that every time a major disruptive technology has come out, it's scary, right? It's frightening. It's disruptive by the definition. It changes things. And I know again, I'm old enough to know, right, when personal computing came out, it scared people. It scared people that it was going to replace people. And it didn't. What it became is this incredible tool. And I'm sure some of the original accountants said, wait a second, I do this spreadsheet by hand, by book. You're going to do this on a computer. I don't need it necessary. No, those accountants were still necessary. It allowed them to do better, to do more, right, with a spreadsheet. Now, fast forward this, 40 some years. And again, we look at this as an incredible tool to help people do the creative things they do, or the productive things they do. They're going to do it better. And that's our focus, right? Is how to integrate that into the system, how to humanize that, how to make it easy and powerful. And that's the way we look at it. Maybe other people look at it differently, but that's certainly the way we look at it.
Jos, thank you so much for your time for today. And I
thank
hope
you.
you enjoyed the questions as well.
Love the questions. Great
Brilliant.
questions. And I will tell you, they were very unique questions. Thank you. I
It took me
appreciate
like
that.
a week.
Yeah, impressive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, لما نيجي لنهاية هذا اللقاء أتمنى أنه جاكم العلم الصحيح، ونتكلم أيضا عن التجارب الصحيحة من الخبرة الكبيرة اللي قضاها جوز في أبل، وكمان نعرف توجه الشركة وكيف أصلا طريقة تفكير الشركة من ناحية المنتجات وخدماتهم والأشياء اللي جايت لنا في المستقبل، وأكيد التمكين اللي قاعدين نشوفه من ناحية التقنية حولنا. في نهاية كل لقاء كل تعليقاتكم وأسئلتكم الثانية قد تكون في بالكم. على فكرة ترى الأسئلة أنا طرحتها كلها من جد، جتني موافقة عليها، أموري طيبة، لكن كل الأسئلة أسئلتي. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أشوفكم على خير بإذن الله. Thank you so much again. Thanks a lot. Thank you.